That's right. Cling, cling, or ching, ching. Hello, everyone. Welcome to No Drama, Just Movies, and we are back this week with another movie review. Hit that subscribe button to stay tuned for the content that we produce each and every week in the world of TV and movies. My name is Cameron Thunderclap Kelly Smith, and I'm joined by my esteemed colleague here.
That was what I was doing.
I know, I didn't see that.
Timing. Phil, sun's getting real low. Corwin.
Oh, I like that one. I like that one. And this time it was in the form of, what was it? What kind of flower was it that Ross took Betty to as a child? Or what was it again? The
cherry? Was it
blossoms? That's it. That's it. They looked pretty. They did look pretty. But if you haven't guessed it by now, we are here to do a spoiler-filled review of Captain America: Brave New World. So we started to see the reviews pour in for this movie last week. We started to see the reactions. The reactions weren't good. They were underwhelming. It does have a very low cinema score that came in at a B-. And, you know, the reactions haven't been great. However, on the flip side, the Rotten Tomatoes audience score is sitting in the high 80% range, I believe. I literally found out a few minutes ago that the movie made a whopping 100 million during the 4-day domestic weekend, which is huge. 88 million, it said, over 3 days. Once again, huge. So the movie's doing really well.
For now.
But obviously, for now. I mean, this is a good start, though. Start. I mean, in terms of where it will actually eventually land, I think if this movie can at least get to the 700 mil mark, that's good. Will it? I don't know. We'll have to see how the next few weeks go. Worldwide, it's already made its money back at least. However, so Brave New World. Here's what I'm gonna say. I think that this movie does not deserve some of the harsher critiques it's gotten. I actually really enjoyed the movie, personally speaking. I really enjoyed it. It's not the best Marvel movie. It's not reminiscent of, you know, some of the best Marvel movies. It does have a lot of problems with it. But I think the reason why I enjoyed it is because for me personally, it gave me a lot of what I personally wanted as an MCU fan or as a fan of this, you know, or I don't want to say a fan of this saga, but as someone who has been watching this saga thus far, it just gave me some much needed things that I did appreciate that I think I've been really missing. And what that really comes down to, I think, is a part of the progression of a wider story, a progression of a story in general, progression of certain characters, the interconnectedness of it, which we'll all get into. And that's what I did enjoy. And I was very biased leading up to this movie because I really wanted some Red Hulk. He delivered. He delivered. And so it gave me what I wanted. And I did enjoy it. I did. What say you?
I enjoyed it a little bit less. And I guess like you could ask like how much, because I read reviews and stuff and saw some things beforehand, and how much did that influence my enjoyment of the film. But yeah, I have some genuine, I think, problems with it. So it's not the worst one. There were some really good bits, and like the acting being one of them for most of these people. And some of the action, I like the action as well. But yeah, overall, it's also not. I don't know if I can call it good. It's okay. It's an okay entry into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I think.
And it's interesting you say that. Sorry, go on. No, go on.
Continue. No. So, like, I was going to say, shall we get into like specifics?
Well, yeah, it's interesting. I was listening to what you said there, and one thing that popped into my mind is the fact that this is obviously, it has very much so, or the attempt was to very much so make a movie that had the same DNA as Winter Soldier. Obviously, Winter Soldier is one of the greatest Marvel movies ever made. It is very hard to beat a Russo brothers MCU movie, as we know. And I think that one thing I did think about as you were speaking there is that if that wasn't the inspiration for this movie, if the movie would have maybe been worse off. Like, this isn't Winter Soldier, right? It's
Yeah.
not nowhere near as good as Winter Soldier. But I think them taking this approach, at least with this approach of this espionage kind of thriller, which it isn't really significantly. Well, it's not that it isn't, it just isn't a good one in that sense. But I think it having that DNA probably helps it more than not. Because if that wasn't that this movie and it was set completely or a different style of movie, it could have actually came off much more worse. But as I was saying, like at the beginning of the review, like for me, it just gave me a lot of what I wanted. You know, I wanted progression, right? And we had talked about this. You know, we are, you know, we're now in phase 5. Phase 4, I think, started in either 2020 or 2021. I can't remember, but you know, we are 5 or 4, whatever years it is, into this saga. We have 2 years to go. One of the big event movies, that being Doomsday, is out next year, and it has felt like we were building at one point so well with Loki, specifically in Loki season 1, even a bit in season 2, and then we just fell off. And it was nice again to just have some kind of progression to see what's happening in this universe. Obviously, the integration of, you know, the Celestial Island, finally, I think that it is a smart idea that they made not only the Celestial Island this point of conflicts between all of the nations around the world, but also the fact that they made the Celestial Island, obviously, you know, the place that obviously has adamantium, which obviously, you know, is going to be something big that moves forward. And I like that setup. That's right. Cling, cling, or ching, ching. But we like that setup, or I like that setup of, you know, that being a thing. I'm intrigued to see what part that Celestial Island plays moving forward. I would like to see more of it. I find it very fascinating to see how that could go into like this geopolitical conflict. Obviously, once again, some progression with Cap himself. Obviously, you know, the shield being passed on from Steve Rogers to Sam Wilson. I was not someone who was on Team Sam before this movie. After seeing this movie, I am on Team Sam. I think that he is a great Captain America. I really did like him. I do think he should take the Super Soldier Serum, but what have you. But and also as well, one thing that is nice progression-wise is the Avengers. Like, since Endgame, there has been no Avengers, and I think that hasn't made sense. It hasn't made sense why there isn't more talk about that, why there isn't more of a active effort to get the Avengers together again or have them there. And it's nice finally in this movie for that to be brought up and now being something that, you know, obviously, you know, the wheels are in motion for your next Avengers team. So I enjoyed that. That was one of the things that I did enjoy. You know, finally a bit of interconnectedness, a bit of progression. And as a Marvel fan, and we enjoy those little things, I was really grateful to finally get that. And in a way that I thought was quite interesting, even if it didn't, you know, reach its full potential. But what say you? What did you think about that part?
I think that was my problem, that it didn't reach its full potential. And like my biggest issue with this film was that it was trying to do a little bit too much. And it just didn't have the time, or like because it was like an hour and a half or something. No, close to 2 hours, I think.
Yeah, close to 2 hours.
Just a little under 2 hours. It fell short of it. Because you mentioned a lot of the plot strands, I guess. We've had the Celestial with the adamantium. Now suddenly there's a question of who gets the adamantium, you know, this indestructible thing that's even like more durable, more indestructible than vibranium. Who gets that? Now everybody wants the, you know, negotiations and all that. And then there's like you said, the spy thing of who's behind these attacks on the president, and you have Sam Wilson, like his self-doubt, like can he be a Captain America like Steve Rogers, and him trying to live up to this to the man who came before him. So you have all these things, and we spend a little time here, we spend a little time there, we spend a little time there, but it's not like, it doesn't feel like a cohesive story. It doesn't like really spend too much time on any of those, and so it felt a bit meandering. And which was really not my thing. It felt a bit boring to be honest at times. And then it kind of went into the Marvel thing as well. Like, but Marvel was doing recently, and I think you kind of mentioned it as well, is the setting up stuff for the next one, basically, instead of focusing on the here and now and just telling a story that people might be interested in. Spending so much time just saying, "Oh, look, here's adamantium that's going to become interesting later," or "Look, here's Red Hulk." Like, spoilers for anyone who went into this. Uh, yeah, wanted to see more Red Hulk. If you already went into this, you know this.
Mm.
Yeah, who wanted to see more of Red Hulk. Um, he's barely in it. Like, I love the part, and we can get into that. When he does actually appear and like the fight as
Yeah.
well. Um, but it's like I think 10 minutes, 12 minutes, 15 minutes of Red Hulk, and in a almost 2 hour film. That's like, what are we doing? Like,
Mm.
what is the story?
Yeah.
And just a setup for the next one, or for like, it feels like Marvel is like setting up, setting up, setting up, hoping to get to stuff like Doomsday. I'm like, I want a good story now. Good.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that because I didn't personally feel like the setup was at the expense of the story. I
Mhm.
actually felt like it did mesh in together quite well to the story. But I will say, yes, I do agree with you. Like, obviously, the big point of contention amongst internet fans over the last how many months is, how many reshoots this movie had.
Mm.
And it has been confirmed time and time again that this movie had one set of reshoots, just like every Marvel movie, just
Mm.
like most blockbuster movies. Rewrites, we don't know, but I think it is evident, I think, and I don't know for sure, I'm making an assumption, but it does feel evident that those rewrites and that reshoot did change a lot or potentially have an effect on this movie because it does feel choppy at times. It does feel weirdly edited at times. It does feel like things weren't allowed to really breathe or progress. And you mentioned about the potential thing. It has so much potential. Like, I
Yep.
think there's a lot here in theory that really could have been even better than it was. And I think this is the interesting thing as well about this movie, the fact that we've had movies in the MCU where it's been like a interconnection of like two worlds or two different characters kind of coming together. Like, for example, Love and Thunder, you had sorry, not Love and Thunder, Ragnarok, you had an
Okay. Yeah.
opportunity to progress Thor's story while also progressing Hulk's story and how they intertwine so well with their take on what was essentially Planet Hulk. But this one, and we've seen people say, like over the last week or whatnot, or from the trailers, this is spiritually a sequel to the 2008 Edward Norton Hulk movie. And I'm not complaining about that because I recently rewatched that movie and
Okay.
it is one of my favorite MCU movies. Like, it's not the best movie in the world, but I think I've got I love the Hulk and I love
Yeah.
Banner and the Hulk. And so it's one of my guilty pleasure kind of MCU movies. And to see that finally followed up on is really interesting, but it does make you wonder if this movie maybe would have suited if it was literally like a Hulk sequel, which it kind of is. And obviously we know there's rights issues, etc., etc. But
Mm.
you can't help but think, where's Banner? Right? Like, it's just it's one of those things. But that being said, one of the things I love about this movie is the story about Ross. Like, Ross is pretty much the main character of this movie in my eyes. It's
You
not
get
Cap.
Harrison Ford. Yeah, use him.
Yeah, like and Harrison Ford, I think, does a great performance.
Mm.
Like, it's a Ross movie, and I really enjoyed exploring more into General Ross, or now President Ross, and how he is like someone that we've seen, who has been with us since literally the year that the MCU was birthed, and now here we are, like how many years later, finally being able to delve into him more and seeing
Mm.
what's going on there. And I really love, as you said, Red Hulk isn't in this movie barely, and it's a shame because I loved Red Hulk in this movie. He is awesome in this movie. It was so nice to see a real Hulk again. And
Yeah.
also, quick shout out to whoever does the CGI for Marvel movies, because I feel like on a whole, personally, across all the MCU's movies, their CGI has been very good.
Mm.
But one bit of CGI I've always appreciated is how good Mark Ruffalo has looked as Hulk, and I felt that Harrison Ford's Hulk looked amazing. He
Mhm.
looked really good.
True,
He
yeah.
moved really good. Oh, it was just great to see. But as you said, like he's barely in it, and that sucks. Like you're literally waiting for the very last 20 to 30 minutes of this movie
Yep.
to finally see him, and that is a shame. I wish that there was more.
You're right. Like it was awesome. Like that part I really, really enjoyed seeing a Hulk again, like a raging Hulk as well. I like kind of where Bruce Banner went, like his arc of like controlling the monster and becoming one.
Boo.
I think I'm just happy for him that he doesn't have to deal with that shit anymore. But yeah, it is good. Like the Hulk clap as well. I don't know if that's the official thing, but
Thunderclap?
thunderclap.
Yeah, I believe that's the
That was
one. Yeah.
called? Okay.
Yeah.
Thunderclap. Um, you have to say that as well.
Very
Um,
comic-y.
so it was great seeing that and the destruction that a Hulk can bring. But again, yeah, it wasn't long enough. Um, oh yeah, the other thread is Isaiah, right? Which is kind of ties into the whole like spy thing of like, oh, someone's controlling people and how does he do that? But what did we think of like, was he done justice? Because it felt like they again was setting this thing up of him being accused of something that he didn't actually have control
Mm.
over, and then going back to prison after spending 30 years
Yeah.
in prison for something else. Like, do we think that that was dealt with the right way, or
For
was it
me
kind of like,
personally, it didn't hit for me even remotely close to how it hit for me in Falcon and Winter Soldier.
hmm,
I found that to be one of the more boring parts. And part of that was because, yes, I was very much more intrigued in Ross and his story and Leader and even Sam's story. The Isaiah stuff didn't hit me as much this time.
hmm,
And I think it might have hit me a bit more if you actually, we talked about the potential, like actually explored more of the political aspects of this movie. You know, if we had seen people's outrage to this guy attempting to kill the president, like if we had seen the outrage towards this guy who was previously a super soldier. And, you know, in people's minds go, this guy's a crook. He was a super soldier. He was meant to serve our country, but he killed the president. The idea if they actually did bring race into it a little bit more, like just ways in which so that you could see the outrage from people towards what they think he's done, and as a result, we as the audience members could have felt more sympathy because it's like, no, that's he's being incriminated. That's wrong. And
hmm,
if they tied that a bit more into this idea, like they did in Winter Captain America and Falcon and Winter Soldier, excuse me, of I got it wrong there, but of Sam, the idea of this black man taking on the mantle. I think that would have been better, but to me, it was
hmm.
just a bit dry this time round.
Yeah.
I didn't really care for it as much. What about you?
I'm with you there. Yeah, it had potential.
Mm,
This idea of like the innocent black man being hoisted off to prison again, and just how he's been in prison before and he doesn't want to go back. Like, what do you do with that story? I would have loved to see that. And even like when they actually arrest him, after the assassination attempt, and he's outside, and they wrestle him to the ground. Whew, I thought immediately of like George Floyd. And so I thought like, oh, there's a chance to do something here.
mm,
Um, I don't know if you want to go that hard, you know, if you really, really, really want to go into like police
mm,
brutality and like how people, because at that time he was like, oh, I don't know where I am, like what am I doing here? What happened? And like you could really play up that he's
mm.
just a confused old black guy and they're like literally attacking him.
Yeah.
So I don't know how far you would have wanted to go with that, but there definitely was like a chance to make something a little bit more emotional, I guess, out of it, and a little
Mm,
bit more I don't know, current.
mm,
Um, just yeah, just a missed opportunity, I think. But again, I guess it's the question of like which story are you trying to tell? Because you could spend a whole film just on the Isaiah's imprisonment and Sam needs to, bail out his brother. And what are the reactions? Like you said, what are the reactions from the people to that? And yeah, it's enough story to tell a whole film about it. But
Yeah.
again, it's like too many things jostling for space.
I agree. And what would have been interesting to see about that as well is how the leader responds to that. Well, Samuel Stearns, like obviously he's not referred to as the leader in this movie, but
No.
I don't think. But how Samuel Stearns responds to that, because it was his plan, it was his idea. Like how much more hatred you would have had for him for doing this. And I mean, let's go on to Samuel Stearns, right? Because
Mm.
after that, the 2008 Red Hulk movie, the 2008 Edward Norton Hulk movie, that was one of the big things. Oh, we know the leader's coming, and it's only been 17 years since, since then, since we've had to finally, see him again. And, you know, he's a character which I felt he was also underused. We were
Oh, yeah.
talking briefly before this review, like what his plan was and if he succeeded. I think his plan was to humiliate, embarrass, and completely sabotage Ross, right? That was his beef, right? The idea was that you had someone who Ross Ross used Stearns as a scapegoat after the events of the 2008 Hulk, right? And completely messed him up, had him imprisoned. He goes to Samuel Stearns and says, "I have this heart condition. I need you." And Stearns used this to set up this plan where essentially his aim is to start a war, completely discredit Ross and disgrace him in his political campaign, and well, in his presidency, and turn him into the thing that he hates the most. Did he succeed on some of those? Yes, he did. Everything besides the war thing.
Mm.
However, I still can't help but say that he was underused, and it felt like he should have been smarter than he was, or at least portrayed to be a bit more smarter than he was and more intelligent with this actual plan. Because eventually he just gives himself in, and it's like, well, he's back in the raft, you know. you
I
know.
think I think his plan was stupid. I mean, like embarrass the president or Ross. Like, what the hell kind of plan is that? Where are the emotional stakes? Where are the like external stakes? Like, what is this about? It's what why? I mean, yeah, killing him, fine. Kill the president or that. If that was the plan, then everybody else can scramble and try to prevent that. And again, they kind of have that right with him controlling people, and suddenly it's like, how does he do that? And let's find everyone who's controlled. It could have been an interesting, like almost like secret invasion type of who is actually involved and whom did he get to? Um, but yeah, as it stands, the plan was really stupid, and I didn't care for it. Um, Before we go to Ices, if we have time,
Yep.
um, what did you think of Sidewinder and Giancarlo Esposito's role?
The fact that I hadn't mentioned him up to this point kind of tells you,
That
kind of
guy
gives you
says
my
everything.
answer. But I want to make it clear for the little amount he's in it, because this is a character that we know was added during the
Hmm.
reshoot. We know that, and it shows. It unfortunately does show. I don't know how long those reshoots were. I'm sure it was only like 22 days or something, or something like that. But it's clear that he could have been fantastic if he was in this more, because I really like his character. I really like him. He brought the kind of Winter Soldier feeling I think that actually this movie could have really benefited from a bit more. And I think that he was a really formidable foe, and could have been much more of a formidable foe for Sam Wilson. But he's barely in it, and he
Yeah,
gets dealt with very quickly. What did you
yeah,
think?
which is a bit of a shame because I like Giancarlo Esposito as well, especially as a villain. He does really well. So it kind of suits him. So yeah, I would have liked to see a little bit more of him.
Mm,
Just to like, I don't know, be an actual threat. It felt like he was there for a bit and then there for another bit and then he was gone.
mm,
I even completely forgot what happens to him actually.
Ends up in prison again, basically.
Oh, good. Um,
But he
but
did say he'll be back.
oh, fantastic. Uh, again, like a setup for the next one. Oh man. Yeah. Let's go to Ices, unless you have something else.
Very final quick
Hmm.
thing, the post-credit scene,
Oh yeah.
shocking, absolutely shocking. I mean, look, Marvel, there was a time in life, right? It wasn't very long ago, but it feels like a long time ago, where the Marvel post-credit scene was God's gift to man. It was fantastic. This is a we'll go into a very much so wider topic. Maybe we'll discuss at a later date.
Hmm.
But this post-credit scene was it could make you concerned because the first thing it does is it clearly shows you that Marvel are trying to tell their audience once again that this is what we're building to. For
Hmm.
those of you maybe who don't know or have forgotten based on the build of it thus far, we are building to this event where there is this multiversal war, right? And they are making that clear to you again, which I thought was interesting because it does make you concerned why they would do it in this way. Doomsday comes out next year. It felt a bit like, holy SHIT, we just need to let them know and remind them. The fact that Samuel Stearns is the one that's like, now this gamma radiation suddenly has caused him to be able to see through time and space and know that this is happening, I thought was ridiculous. Like, he's not Kang, he's not Victor Von Doom, he's not even Doctor Strange. Like, I thought that was a bit much. But yeah, yeah. What do you think of the post-credit scene before we go to IC?
It didn't feel like it told us anything new. It kind of, I don't know who it was for, whether it was for us or the characters, really. Because we've been told this was going to come since Loki, right? When
Yeah.
Kang explains there are others,
Oh, the
they
good old days of this saga.
the good old days of Jonathan Majors.
Yeah.
Um, so so yeah, you kind of had that idea from, or as audience, you knew from that point on that this multiversal war, that other people from other multi universes were going to come, and like, there was going to be a battle. Um, so I don't know what that was. Like
Mm,
it was kind of like, here's some information that you already know. Cool, thanks for sticking around. Yeah, it was kind of
yeah.
pointless.
Well, I mean, let's go to our IC review scores. Obviously, we'll give this movie a IC review rating out of 10. So let's go to you. How many ICs out of 10 will you be giving Captain America Brave New World?
Ah, man, I'm gonna go with 6 out of 10 ICs.
Higher
Like,
than I thought you'd go.
oh, really? Um,
Yeah.
I want to be kind to it a little bit, mainly for the acting and some of the potential it had. Like there were good bits, just because I don't like how they came together. Still good bits. The acting, of course, yeah. Anthony Mackie was awesome. And yeah, just the end as well, like the fight with Red Hulk. The action scenes in total, like they were really nice. I loved how he used his wings and shield and all that. And yeah, so 6 out of 10 from me.
And I'm going to go one up. I'm going to go with 7 ICs out of 10. I was considering doing 7.5, but
No,
not
no.
yet. Yeah, 7 ICs out of 10 seem fitting. And it's because I did enjoy this movie. Is it the best Marvel movie ever? No, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. And I tell you what, I would actually see it again, specifically because there's certain scenes or certain things I would just love to see again. Um, it is in, it has distant DNA to Winter Soldier. I wish that it really could have embraced that and took it further, but I enjoyed it. I did
I
enjoy it. And I think that you should see it if you haven't already. And I think that there's a good amount there for MCU fans to take and, progress with and be happy with.
I'd rather watch Winter Soldier again than, because right now I don't have an urge to watch it again. So maybe not one of us.
Well, I mean, that will do it for our review of Captain America Brave New World. Once again, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you are new to this channel, like, comment, share, drop down in the comment section below. Let us know your thoughts on this movie and the future of the MCU as we go next to Thunderbolts, only a few months out. Once again, my name is Cameron Thunderclap, Kelly Smith, and I'm joined by my esteemed colleague here.
Give us a thunderclap as well. I'm Phil. Wait, what was it? Sun's getting real low, buddy. What other buddy? Corwin.
Oh, don't forget Natasha Romanoff. There was a Red Room member in this movie,
There
but
was a widow, yeah.
clearly she's not Natasha. But we like you, Scarlett Johansson, and we'll be there for the new Jurassic World, hopefully.
Okay.
But anyway, that will do it for our review of Captain America: Brave New World. Thank you very much for checking out our review today, guys, and we will see you very, very soon. Take care, guys.
Thunderclap.